Alrighty, friends, let's go ahead and hear from Candice. So, Candice, just start by telling us your news.
So I was offered a remote freelance position for a jewelry company based in Miami, and the role is a sourcing role, which was one of the roles I was targeting during my job search.
What's the job title that you were offered?
Freelance sourcing manager.
Okay, and then tell me about the field because jewelry is something that you've been in and that you're definitely interested in, right?
Yes, so it's a jewelry company. It's a newer company. They've only been established for around 5 years. He started out with men's jewelry and is expanding into women's. And he works mostly with overseas factories in China. So I'm basically going to be managing that relationship, sourcing the materials, negotiating the costs, and having everything shipped over for him.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, so back me up and tell me the story about how this occurred because really what I want to know, start with, did you find them? Did they find you? What happened there?
So it's a recruiter from this agency called JBC, and it's a recruiting agency that I know of. They specialize in fashion jobs. I actually attended a virtual um, networking event they hosted, but nothing came of it. But the recruiter saw my LinkedIn profile, and she reached out to me when she got this role. And from there, I interviewed with her, and then she really liked me, and she kicked me off to the second round where I interviewed with the merchandising manager, and then I interviewed with the CEO, and they offered me the job the next day. So
Oh,
it's
goodness.
pretty
Okay.
quick.
So this is great. Walk us through the timeline a little bit. So the first thing you did, you attended their virtual networking event. Even though nothing came of it, do you feel like you got relationships and made an impression?
Yeah, I was able to connect with the recruiters and other job seekers, and also I was able to talk to some hiring managers for some companies. Um, I'm still in contact with them. No one's really hiring right now, so it's kind of like a weird time. But this event was like a couple months ago. It was like right around Christmas, so that's when things were a little not moving because of the holidays. Um, so she reached out to me 3 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4. And she found my LinkedIn. I guess I popped up somewhere for her, and sent my resume over, and then she asked me for a phone interview. And then the week after that, I met with someone on the hiring team at the company. And then she recommended that I talk to the CEO, and then they offered me the job the next day that I talked to the CEO.
Give me the whole time frame from when the person reached out to you.
It was about 2.5 weeks from when the recruiter reached out to me till I got the offer.
One of the things I think it's important for us to talk about is your story. So the resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, that's the story. Do you have any thoughts on how well your prior resume expressed what you wanted to say compared to the story that you and I worked on together? What was the difference?
I don't think I had a story on my last resume. I was with my last company for almost 9 years, and I had my resume updated during that time, but I didn't have any accomplishments. I think my resume did not show the progress I made in those 9 years. Um, I feel like the resume we did definitely set me up to be able to interview for director roles, which I was getting. Um, so it definitely told the right story once we revised everything, and showed that I can lead projects and make money for a company and establish new ways of doing things.
Now, talk to me about something else because you said that this recruiter found you on LinkedIn. Is that something that had happened for you before you and I got together, when you were job searching and doing everything that you were doing? Were you having recruiters come to you, or was that not happening too much?
I did get a bunch that reached out to me. It was just either not the right role for me. It was just like some things that just weren't the right fit. But I did get some recruiters reaching out to me. My most successful interviews with roles that I was really excited for were from the emails, the cold emails I was sending out to people at the companies I was targeting.
Let's go ahead and talk about that. So, what did I share with you as far as a tactic to execute that turned out to give you the response, at the level that was compelling for you?
For me, it was basically giving me permission to email people higher up in the company, which before this I probably would never uh, do. I always felt like that was intrusive. But I've I haven't had a bad response yet, so it's definitely worked out in my favor. So yes, it's successful.
This practice that I shared with you about emailing the relevant people who could move you along in the hiring process. Um, Tell me about the level of difficulty of doing that. I mean, is this like PhD work? Is this college work? What's the level of difficulty?
uh, Entry level. It wasn't difficult, especially once, I had like a framework for the email and I just switched out a few things for the each person I was emailing. It started to become very quick as I was doing it over and over again. So the process ended up being easy once I got used to it. Definitely not hard.
What about the process was easy for you? And did it ultimately end up being easier than what you thought it was going to be?
Um, it was easier than what I thought it was going to be. At first, I think I was complicating it for myself. I was like writing these elaborate emails that I don't think anyone was reading. So once I tailored the emails down, made it very to the point, and relevant to the person I was emailing, that's when I started getting responses. And people were taking calls from me from that point. So yeah, I think it became easy once I went through your program a couple times just to like reframe everything I was writing. And then it just I could get out a lot of emails in just a couple of hours, and it made my job search less hectic, I think.
Good, 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 good. Now, so when are you starting and how do you feel?
I'm starting March 4th, so Monday, next Monday. And I feel good. I think this is my target, my future target is beyond this position. So I think this position is a nice bridge for that, for what I'm pursuing in the future. It's going to give me that experience that I think I was lacking before. So I'm definitely excited to start building on my resume.
Now, so this is the bridge to the next position. And I think it's important for us to talk about this too, right? Because this is not the last job that you're going to have before retirement. So this is the next step in your trajectory, the role that you're about to start. What do you envision will be the next job title that this job is going to set you up for?
I would love to be director of product development and sourcing for a fashion or jewelry company. And I have interviewed for those roles in the last few months, and I've asked for feedback after getting rejected. And for the director positions, it's been kind of consistent that I was missing just a few experiences that they were looking for, mostly managing a larger team and starting processes from scratch. And so I think being with a new company like this, I'm going to be able to establish a lot of processes and really gain that experience I was missing before. So yeah, I could see myself.
When we kind of look back over your process, is one of the differences in the work that we did together compared to earlier in your life, is one of the differences that you were able to engage the right people? Did that make a difference in moving you forward in your job search?
Yeah, it definitely got me in front of people at companies that I was intimidated to apply to before. Now, even now, like now I have a job, but I look towards the future and I'm not really intimidated to go after these bigger fashion houses and jewelry companies. That before would intimidate me, but now I'm pretty confident that I could get my foot in the door and, talk to someone that's been in magazines that I've been reading since I was younger. So yeah.
Tell me about why you feel differently now, because you're talking about renewed confidence. And I think some of that is what pushed you through and pushed you forward in this job search. What's the difference in your mindset now that maybe was missing before that you no longer feel intimidated?
Um they the pedestal is gone. Um they're no longer these people that are unreachable in my mind because before, you know, I I worked at a pretty well-known company, but it wasn't a revered company, if that makes sense. So I when I looked at these other bigger companies that were worshipped by people, I felt like I wouldn't fit in or I wasn't up to their standards. But now that I've gotten interviews with some of those places, yes, it didn't work out, but that's not because I'm just not there yet. It's not because of me. It's just I have just a little more to go to get to that job that I'm really after. So they're just regular people in my mind now, and I can just talk to them instead of being scared to talk to them.
That's so true. I wanted to ask you something too, because what I'm wondering is, have you had an evolution or growth in your thought process about how you view you? Because obviously, when we're keeping, our eye on the prize is getting that job. You've done that. But, what I want to know is from this process, have you learned something better about yourself?
Um, I I I feel like before, because I was at the same company for so long, you get kind of brainwashed by the people who give your reviews and you you start to believe what they tell you. that I had a manager who would never give me a score over a 3 because no one can ever be perfect. And there's always room for improvement. So it didn't matter how hard I worked or how much I accomplished that year, I was always going to be a 3. So in my mind, I became a 3. So now seeing people's reactions to my resume and like, oh my God, you have amazing experience. I'm not a 3. I'm definitely a 5 or higher if that exists. But yeah, I broke that conditioning.
When we worked on the resume together and then you got it from me, A, how did you feel? And B, tell me about some of the responses from potential employers and other people who saw the resume.
I felt like I was professional, because the I got into my last job. I was only out of college for 2 years, so I was so green then. So I never felt professional or established. And when I saw and I read everything that I've done on paper, written out in such an eloquent way, um, I I just felt more confident just with that alone. And I've definitely gotten such good responses. The director at Michael Kors said I was very professional on paper and off paper. So like something like that is just like it makes you feel good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, in celebrating you, the reason that I wanted to celebrate you is because I know that this story will be inspirational to other people. I know that other people will watch us and listen to what you're saying about our steps together and your experience. And I know that they're going to see themselves in some part of your story. So I would ask you, what would you say to people who are in our audience right now?
um, well, don't let your own limiting beliefs stop you. Um, I would definitely talk to people outside of your immediate circle of friends and family to get a new perspective of your experience because I think that was my biggest help when people who had just met me saw my resume and heard my story and they were so impressed with me that they wanted to help me. So I think just getting out of your comfort zone and talking to new people was definitely would definitely help them, and it helped me for sure.
Getting out of your comfort zone sounds so hard to everybody. It's hard for everybody. But what happened, whether it was a result or a feeling or something in your thought process, what happened that got you out of your comfort zone and kept you moving forward out of the comfort zone?
I think well, I was determined on following your program. I was like, I'm going to do this step by step and like truly take my shot, even though it was like I'm a true introvert. So that was definitely like hard for me to start emailing people and having phone conversations with people I don't know. And I wasn't getting anybody to respond to me the first few weeks. And then this one woman, she was a VP at Etsy and she was going to Warner Brothers, decided to take a call with me. And that like broke the ice. And she was so nice and gave me such good advice. And um, I was like, okay, I can talk to more people then. So once you get that first connection, I feel like that it like makes it so much easier because you make it scarier in your head than it really is.
That's good. That's good advice. That's good advice. Any final words, any final thoughts that you want to let people know?
Just keep going. The job market's tough, so to do stuff outside the box is, I think, our only option at this point. Um, so just keep going and try to do new